We often hear about veterans struggling with post-traumatic stress disorder. Unfortunately, by the time it's on many of our radars, something disastrous has happened or there's been a public episode that forces us to take note. According to one study, PTSD among veterans may contribute to suicidal thoughts, with veterans accounting for 20% of all suicides. Statistics also show between 20 and 22 veterans die each day from suicide. Our next guest, retired Colonel DJ Reyes, has been working on veterans-related issues for years, specifically as part of the Veterans Treatment Court, which helps vets who are in trouble with the law. He also just accepted the Reverend William Corby Award for his military service from his alma mater, the University of Notre Dame, this past weekend. Colonel Reyes, welcome back to the show. Always good to see you, and again, congratulations on the honor.
Hey, thanks a lot, Terrence. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
Always a pleasure to have you here. So let's kind of dive into this conversation. As the veterans involved in criminal cases that you deal with, how many would you actually say are to some degree rooted in the effects of PTSD?
Well, I can tell you, I can't give you precise numbers, but as you just alluded to on your statistics, post 9/11, 1 out of 5 veterans have been diagnosed with some degree of mental health disorder or a disability, and that includes PTSD as well as traumatic brain injury. Now, I can tell you as a last resort, disorders such as PTSD could end up being a contributing factor to many veterans who cannot otherwise cope with it, and as a result commit criminal crimes, criminal behavior. As a result of that, based on the various state laws, they may be, in most cases, eligible for admissibility into the Veterans Treatment Court, such as what we have here in Florida. So I can tell you, we've got, again, I can't give you numbers, but there is a percentage of veterans, because many of them now are post 9/11, we're seeing the effects of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, of our veterans that are suffering from various disabilities. And we are seeing cases of PTSD veterans coming into our court.
And Colonel Reyes, in your experience, is PTSD, or the emotional response to a military trauma, typically a gateway into something bigger?
Well, I believe it's, and again, I'm not a medical practitioner, I'm not a doctor, but as a person that's been involved in the establishment of our own Tampa's Veterans Treatment Court, I can tell you that we have seen PTSD as one of the disorders or disabilities that can lead to criminal behavior. The other thing that's important to note is many of our veterans don't seek help or assistance for whatever reason. And what many have done, as we have seen and experienced, they've done coping mechanisms, if you will. So whether it's other illicit behavior, whether it's taking other illicit substances or alcohol abuse, things of that nature, they will do that because they're trying to cope. And so because of that, that could lead to a downward spiral in many of our veterans. And so the premise of the Veterans Treatment Court is to quickly identify if there's any underlying conditions such as PTSD, which could have contributed to the criminal behavior. And then the focus of the Veterans Treatment Court is to identify it, treat it, rehabilitate it, and ultimately get the veteran well again and reintegrate them back into the community, instead of keeping them in the criminal justice system where they're punished in jail or in prison with no hope for any kind of treatment.
Colonel Reyes, I'm curious. There's obviously a lot of talk about helping veterans deal with their PTSD, but in your mind, is there enough real work being done on that issue, both from the civilian community as well as from the veteran affairs community?
Yes, I believe so. I will tell you, the good news is I've seen over the last 10 years a really a big push and increase in awareness, education, and action through programs from the local to state to federal levels. And at the federal level, I'm talking about the Veterans Affairs. In fact, the Veterans Affairs, the VA, is a strategic partner with all of the VTCs throughout the United States. In fact, that's where the majority of the medical treatment service and therapies come from. But even at the local level, and I can speak anecdotally here in Florida and specifically in Tampa, Hillsborough County, we've got wonderful local programs. We have outreach programs, and as well as the local and the national, of course, crisis network programs such as the Veterans Crisis Programs. And I'd like to just put in a quick plug for that for any veterans who are listening in who have any issues with PTSD, TBI, any substance issues, or any other kinds of issues where they want to talk to somebody and get some help, the 1-800 number is 800-273-8255. That is a 24/7 veteran operator, and they will assist you no matter in what state you're in. They will refer you to the resources that you need.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Colonel Reyes. We appreciate you coming on to discuss this today.
Always a pleasure
Thank
to
you.
talk to you.
Thanks, Terrence. Go Irish.
He was going to get that plug in for his university there.